wages have gone up from $99 million a year to $191 million a year. And that's for the end of 2008, and that's when they were on strike. They got part of the December that they were on strike. And wait until you see what's going to happen by the end of 2009. And any reasonable person would try and find a way to stop what is obviously going on, where the city now has gone from 115 million actual cost after user fees by the people that use the transit in 2001 to 220 million a year in 2008. I mean, that's actual dollars out of your property taxes. It is not fun. It's not funny.
Thank you, Bill. Next question. Because if we don't have time for Shirley, I'll be in big trouble.
Debbie Jolwin. But again, it's back to the bus strike. As many of you know, I was in the middle of it and called shame on me. And all I was asking was for them to go back to work. And I was down paying a parking ticket, by the way. I want to know, Mr. Cullen, why the admin staff, the support staff for OC Transpo during the strike were not laid off, and how did all the drivers come back to work when only 25% of the buses were running?
So, first answer is they were laid off. Okay? Yes, they were. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry, folks. The many people during the strike, it's all documented. They had to go home and take a leave of absence without pay. They were laid off for a portion of the strike. That's right. And secondly, on the bus drivers coming back, the bus drivers came back on a work share program. So it ended up not costing the taxpayer one whit more, but the union came back and said, here's the work you want to provide. These are the number of buses that are going to run, and we want to make sure that our members can share into that work. Obviously, they're going to take less hours. Obviously, they're going to get less pay, but everyone's going to get a piece of it. And since it didn't matter in terms of the number of buses running, didn't cost us a penny more, it was a good deal.
I disagree. There's a lot.
Okay.
Yes. Look, Deborah raises a very excellent point, but I want to take it from what she said to a different direction. One of the things that was often heard by the councillors is, oh, we have no control. Oh, if you cut this, you're going to cut services. Well, before we talk about the debate of cutting non-cost services and the cost for cost services, let's talk about administration. The city has about $500 million in general expenses, in HR, finance, IT, facilities management, and administration. If you cut that by 20%, you have just saved yourself $100 million without affecting service. Listen to the departments again. They are HR, finance, IT, facilities management, and administration. Councillor Collin, would you support a cut of all administration expenses by 20%?
Okay, thanks. So just if we can try and keep, when the questions, for transit, let's try and keep it transit.
You mentioned admin.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough.
My name is Suzanne Fortin, and I'm a stay-at-home mom of 3 children. And from my perspective, I don't necessarily follow municipal politics very closely. I'm very busy taking care of 3 children at home, so I don't go out to budget meetings. But from my perspective, I don't understand things. Like, I don't understand why my library card costs nothing and we can't cut. I pay, I mean, the leisure services are very reasonably priced, but those aren't core services. And I don't understand why they can't raise prices or why they just can't eliminate all these leisure services at all. These are not core services. I understand that there's some people who are disadvantaged and might need to have a special arrangement, but not everybody in the city is disadvantaged, and I don't see why we can't go in the private sector to have a library card or whatever. I mean, it's just a bit of a questioning, and I'm also concerned because, well, I want to get another point is, when I run my budget, I don't have excuses. If there's no money for core services, there's no money for core services. If my car breaks down tomorrow, You know what I mean? It's just, I don't get the extra money, and I don't think that council should operate any differently. Like, the bottom line, if there's no money, there's no money, and that's it. That's me, basically, kind of take that as a question, but I mean, I'm confused about that because it just seems so obvious to me that if you don't have the money, you don't have the money.
Okay, let's respond to that.
First, on the answer on the library card, the Library Act of the Province of Ontario has been in existence for a long time, will not permit us to charge. And they used to give us a grant. The Tories cut it in half, and it's not been raised since then. So the amount we can't even get to run the library from the province is minuscule. And I'm on the library board. We've been demanding to the province, meeting with them, saying this is unfair. You make us do this service for free, but you don't give us any help in paying for it. Right? So this is just one of those mandated ones that municipalities operate under provincial law. We can only do things that the provincial law allows us to do, and if the provincial law says you have to do it this way, then you have to do it this way. And people say, why don't you just flaunt it anyway? Well, if we did that, the province would stop sending us the money they do send us, and we'd be worse off. So that's that part of it. The second part of your question was in the don't spend money you don't have. Well, we actually don't spend money we don't have. But under one of the provincial laws is not followed by either the federal or provincial governments, but it is followed by municipalities. We have to, by law, have a balanced budget. If we end up the year with a deficit, that deficit is the first charge against the next year's taxes. Federal and provincial governments run deficits all the time. Well, we can't do that, and that means that we don't have that fluidity to be able to spend more in bad times and less at other times, etc. So we do operate with half our hands tied behind our back. But the idea, for programs, our recreation programs cover the basic costs for most of them, except for many youth programs. Because the feeling is that it's very important to have athletic ability for youth, and so our arena charges for young people are lower. Adult ones scream like crazy because we're charging them a lot to rent the arena, but we feel that adults should pay, but we do have to ensure that children have ability to do things, have parks to run in, all of those kind of things that are good for their health and their development.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay. Question for the councillors. Have you asked... No. Yeah, I hear you. They can get a chance to throw in the answer. Have you asked the province to change the act? I mean, this is about getting the... Hang on. I'm not done. I should have extra time for that. Why are you paying for services that are outside the Library Act? A CBAT report on comparison with the Calgary Library shows that you're spending $3 million less than Ottawa. They're spending $3 million less than Ottawa on a population that is 100,000 larger. They have half as many branches, and they have 2/3 the number of librarians that we have in Ottawa. So will the councillors on our side here, will they support a 30% reduction in the number of librarians, and will they support directing all libraries not to fund any service that is outside the Library Act?
Just before we go back to the podium, thank you for making the sacrifice and being a stay-at-home mom. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Jared Jennings, and I'd like to take the time to thank the councillors for taking the time to come here tonight. As you can tell, there's a lot of very angry people in the audience tonight, and the question that was asked before needs to be asked again. At the end of the year, I am not guaranteed a cost of living increase. I am not guaranteed an inflation increase every year. I have a budget, I have to live within it. How come the council cannot? How come they feel the need to reach back into our pockets every year to make up for shortfalls instead of looking into what they can do to provide core services? I am sure your citizens will understand if you cannot go above and beyond because of budget restrictions.
So,